Good morning. I'm Brady Deaton. I've been chair of BIFAD since 2011, and this is my last step here as chair, in which we will then have a transition to our new chair, who will be introduced to you, Mark Keenum, in just a little bit. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 174th meeting of the Board for International Food and Agricultural Development, or BIFAD. We have a wonderful group here. We're in for a very rich program, and we're going out live streaming, as I understand, so we have online participants around the world, so welcome to all of you to this meeting. It's really a pleasure to be working with BIFAD, and I'm fortunate to be able to continue that for the next few years until 2020. And one great highlight that I have had during my time as chair is to visit with the original founder of BIFAD, Representative Paul Finley from Illinois, Jacksonville, Illinois. 2 months ago, I sat with him. He sends his greetings to BIFAD, as he does each time I speak with him. He glows with the vision that he had in 1975 when he wrote and passed in a very nonpartisan way in the House and Senate with Senator Humphrey's support, Title 12, to the amendment to the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961, which created BIFAD. And that act was designed to bring the power of U.S. universities into league with the leadership of USAID to address development issues around the world. The act has been amended in 2000 for the first time under President Clinton. The Famine Prevention and Freedom from Hunger Improvement Act of 2000 was passed, which amended and strengthened the linkage with the universities and broadened the mission to ensure that, in addition to agricultural development focus, that it included nutrition and health and other aspects of development that were becoming so critical in the development process, as we see how all disciplines need to be involved in addressing the critical issues of development. And you're going to be seeing that today as we go forward with this meeting. So I welcome you. I thank you for being with us. And you're in for, I think, a very rich program as I have looked at it and helped plan over the next few days. It's really my pleasure to introduce the new administrator of USAID to speak with you this morning. Ambassador Mark Green was sworn in as USAID administrator in August of 2017. Mr. Green comes to this position, Ambassador Green, as a tremendous leader in foreign policy and business development worldwide. And that was after serving as 4 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives representing Wisconsin's 8th District. He's a graduate of the University of Wisconsin Law School. I share that Wisconsin affiliation with Ambassador Green. And he was also Senior Director of U.S. Global Leadership Coalition, a network of 400 businesses, NGOs, policy experts, and other leaders who are supporting development tools that were of use in American foreign policy. He has been lauded for his unwavering commitment to placing the best face of the United States in the work of what is happening in development worldwide. And he's been active since appointment to that task. We had an opportunity to meet with him, the BIFAD board, earlier, and we were very impressed, certainly, with his commitment. He has worked with the Millennium Challenge Act. He worked very vitally with President George W. Bush's history-making AIDS program, and has, in 2014, received the Special Presidential Certificate of Recognition and Appreciation from President Jakaya Kikwete of Tanzania, where Ambassador Green served as U.S. Ambassador to Tanzania. So he comes with amazing credentials, a deep commitment, and a tremendous vision for what USAID role they can play in development and American foreign policy. And it's really a pleasure, Ambassador Green, to welcome you to this BIFAD meeting and look forward to your remarks.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to begin this morning by welcoming our new members, Chairman Mark Keenum, President of Mississippi State University, and Member Richard Lackey, CEO of the World Food Bank. Many thanks for your willingness to serve in this important capacity and for taking the time to be with us today. I'd also like to thank Brady, not just for his kind words, but for his service as acting chairman at a significant time for this group, as well as Dr. Kerry Fowler and Chancellor Harold Martin, who are rotating off the board after making important contributions to the work of BIFAD. And to all of our members, we are grateful for your leadership in shaping and guiding the critical role that the U.S. academic community must play in addressing food insecurity and food opportunity. As some of you know, USAID traces its history back to the famous fourth point of President Truman's 1949 inaugural address, which in turn was inspired by the man who would go on to be his Secretary of State, George C. Marshall. President Truman said the U.S. should, and I'm quoting, embark on a bold new program for making the benefits of our scientific advances and industrial progress available for the improvement and growth of underdeveloped areas. The material resources which we can afford to use for assistance of other peoples are limited, but our imponderable resources and technical knowledge are constantly growing and are inexhaustible. I think that sounds like the mission statement of BIFAD. As he led the rebuilding effort after World War II, George C. Marshall recognized that it would take much more than money. He recognized that America's financial resources, especially in the years after protracted war, were not unlimited. He wanted to leverage America's intellectual resources. He wanted to harness our experience and know-how and apply them to the challenge of restoring hope to a shattered world. Of course, this isn't 1949, and our closest allies aren't in the deep cavern that Germany and others were back then. But our taxpayer resources are still limited, and countries are certainly in desperate need of our assistance. And our scientific advances and industrial progress are still the irreplaceable contribution that we can make. There is broad bipartisan support for the U.S. government's global food security strategy, and Congress has generously appropriated funds to help us execute on it. But it only comes alive with the active input of leaders like all of you and the institutions that you represent. That's why BIFAD matters. We need your help on topics ranging from nutrition to building resilience, from promising research developments to identifying and fostering the needed skill sets in our partners' rural communities. We know that technology and innovation move at the speed of, well, whatever speed it is, it's certainly faster than a government bureaucracy. We depend on you to keep us timely. We depend upon you to ensure that our tools and initiatives are up to date. As this new edition of BIFAD gets underway, there's plenty of good news. There's a lot for us to celebrate. The first phase of the 11-agency Feed the Future initiative has already lifted the lives of some 9 million people by increasing crop yields and addressing other root causes of hunger and malnutrition. But there are also plenty of challenges. We know that populations continue to grow most rapidly in underdeveloped countries, and the demand for food grows with it. Food production will need to increase by more than 60% over the next 10 years just for us to keep up. So our task, and that's a task that you must take on, is to dig deeper than ever before, looking at the whole progression from farm to table in our partner countries. We need to ask ourselves a number of crucial questions. Questions like, how can we better enable small and medium enterprises, like aggregators and transporters, to improve access to innovative finance? How can we better foster economic opportunities in agriculture for young people who are increasingly attracted to urban areas around the world? How do we help them appreciate that agriculture involves numerous economic opportunities that are miles away from farm fields and are both rewarding and truly exciting? I know that's a daunting mandate for any group, but BIFAD has a talented membership. It is uniquely positioned to bring together the experts and expertise that can make all the difference. Final thought. Today, a third of the global population, some 2.3 billion people, are between the ages of 15 and 34. Nearly 80% of them live in low and lower middle income countries. Many observers, many writers see that as a daunting challenge. They see it as a problem to overcome. But what I want all of you to do is to see it as a remarkable opportunity. Underutilized talent, untapped creativity and ingenuity, failing to reach that talent, failing to leverage that creativity, that's our failure, not theirs. Thank you for serving on BIFAD. Thank you for what you've done already and in the overall effort to strengthen food security. More importantly, thank you for all that you're about to do. It's time for us to get down to business. I am pleased to welcome Dr. Mark Keenum, our newly appointed BIFAD chair. Dr. Keenum has served as president of Mississippi State University since 2009. Prior to that, he served as chief of staff to U.S. Senator Thad Cochran and was appointed by President George H.W. Bush as Undersecretary of Farm and Foreign Agricultural Services at USDA. He currently chairs the Foundation for Food and Agriculture Research and the steering committee of the university organization known as Presidents United to Solve Hunger. Dr. Keenum is a strong champion of global food security and world hunger issues. I'm delighted that he'll be leading us in the important months and years ahead. Chairman Keenum, it's all yours.
Thank you, Ambassador Green, for all that you do and have done thus far in your life and your career to this point. Well, as the ambassador just mentioned, I am the new chair of BIFAD. I'm on the job now for about 2 weeks. And it's interesting that the very first BIFAD meeting that I have ever attended, I get to serve as chairman. So I'm looking forward to the challenge and the opportunity to go forward and serve in this great organization, to work with a great team here at USAID. It's indeed a big honor for me personally. I've had the pleasure of not being here, but working with this group and understanding the important role that BIFAD plays to help address critical issues for our world and our future. And as the ambassador mentioned, I have been fortunate in my life and my career to serve at USDA as Undersecretary for Farm and Foreign Agricultural Services. And in that role, I was responsible for all the foreign and international programs at the Department of Agriculture, including its international developmental programs. And USDA does quite a bit of work. Not as much as USAID, but for USDA, a lot. And I was very blessed, and I think that's probably where I achieved my greatest passion for the work of humanitarian assistance in the world, by being part of that effort and seeing firsthand the difference that the United States government is making around the world in lives, saving lives, millions of lives, and the impacts we're having in nations. That's tremendous, and that's an awesome responsibility for this organization to serve this great agency in our federal government. You know, and I also want to thank my dear friend, Dr. Brady Deaton. Dr. Deaton is, he's just a wonderful human being. He and his wife both have committed their lives to addressing critical issues in global hunger, in international development, He and I got to know each other when he was serving as chancellor at the University of Missouri. And Dr. Deaton was wise enough, very wise, to lead in bringing his university into the Southeastern Conference, the greatest athletic conference on planet Earth. And Dr. Deaton led that effort, and we welcomed the University of Missouri with open arms. I also want to take time to allow my distinguished colleagues that I'm looking forward to serving with to maybe take a moment, if you don't mind, and just introduce yourself to the audience.
Certainly. Hi, I'm glad to be here. My name is Richard Lackey, World Food Bank, and this is my first meeting and first effort as well, and we look forward to integrating not only the economics and the research done by some of the great university minds and folks that are out there, but also integrating plans for walking this forward into action by involving the economics and involving businesses and private enterprise into the effort so that we can solve things quicker and we can leverage up this knowledge to really acquire the solutions that we want that require more money, more people, and more partners. So we invite all of you to help in that effort as well. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Wadet Cruzado. I'm honored to serve as president of Montana State University, and I have been a member of BIFAD since 2013.
Good morning. I'm Pamela Anderson. I've spent my career 40 years overseas on food security issues with smallholder farmers, ended up as the Director General of the International Potato Center, and then worked for 2 years as the head of the Gates Foundation Ag Program. I am now retired from employment and very proud to be serving with this board. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Jim Ash. I'm an attorney in private practice. I'm the oddball on the board. I don't have a background in international aid as distinguished as my fellow colleagues, but I practice in the food and agribusiness space. I'm from Southern California and now live in Kansas City in really what is the heart of what I think will be a very important part of the aid process going forward as we continue to leverage, the U.S. production capability and technology as the administrator was saying earlier. So I'm glad to be here, always glad to be back in Washington, D.C. to spend a little bit of time with my oldest daughter and to have such a beautiful day for our meeting.
I will note, excuse me, that our distinguished colleague, Dr. Gabisa Ajeta, unfortunately is not able to be with us for our meeting, but he also is a tremendous leader on the BIFAD board. Well, I also want to just say how pleased we are, Administrator Green, that you have asked BIFAD to address some pretty critical issues such as resilience and youth engagement in agriculture. BIFAD has responded to the administrator's request by convening these meetings on building the evidence based on rural youth employment and livelihoods today and addressing measurement and analysis of resilience for tomorrow. These issues are critical to promoting food security, so BIFAD, we absolutely look forward to working with you on this important work at hand. I want to take this time, too, just to quickly introduce someone very important to what we're doing here in our efforts, and that's Dr. Clara Cohen. Dr. Cohen, she is the Executive Director and designated federal officer for BIFAD. She serves as the liaison between the board and the agency and enables us to do our work and ensure that the provisions of the Federal Advisory Committee Act, something you are all, I'm sure, very familiar with, FACA, are met regarding the operations of what we're doing here with BIFAD today. In compliance with FACA, BIFAD's public meetings are announced in the Federal Register, and we have scheduled a half hour for public comment from any of you who wish to speak at 4:15 this afternoon, and we'll give you again an opportunity for comments or any questions you may have for the board. For members of the public requesting time to make a public comment, your remarks hopefully will not be more than 1 minute. And we have a timer. As per FACA, minutes of this meeting will be prepared and will be included in the description of matters that are discussed in any conclusions reached by the board. These will be certified within 90 days and the meeting and will be made public on our BIFAD website. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Louise Fox, who is USAID Chief Economist. She will introduce the next speakers on youth and agriculture transformations. You have all the biographies for Dr. Fox and all of our speakers in your information. So at this time, I may ask my colleagues to join me up front as we prepare for the presentation. Dr. Fox.